Hi friend, welcome back to Freedom Practice with Jen. I'm Jen Wallace and I'm really happy you're here, and I want to acknowledge you for really showing up for yourself and taking care of yourself and staying connected to who you are. That's what all these practices are really about, is when we stay connected to who we are, we can live lives true to who we are. And that's where our freedom lies. And the freedom belongs to us. That freedom belongs to us. So I hope you're enjoying these practices. This is practice number 4 this week. And one practice keeps expanding into the next. But it's all about staying connected to ourselves. And when life gets messy, which it is, beautifully messy, it can be hard messy, challenging messy. If we stay connected to ourselves, then we can get through everything. All right, so this week is practice 4, and I always like to start the same way, and that is by slowing everything down. So I hope you have your journal with you and you're comfortable and free of distractions. I'm outdoors. There might be a few noises, but I'm going to let it be messy. It's real. This is where I want to be. So I like to close my eyes, but if you want to just lower your gaze to the floor, just soften your gaze. Open the chest. Just slow everything down and take a few slow breaths, nourishing breaths in your nose. Just exhaling any way you like. Always in your nose. Just soften your belly, soften the body as you exhale. Nice. So just keep those soft, smooth breaths going. You can't take too many slow breaths. Yep. And so we'll move on to practice number 4. So the title of practice number 4 is to check in, rest, and restore. Check in, rest, and restore. And this week's practice is under that umbrella of self-care that I talked about last week. We were talking about nourishing ourselves. How are we feeding ourselves? What are we allowing in? What relationships are we keeping close to us? What behaviors are we allowing? Talked a lot about sleep and the importance of protecting your sleep. I'm going to talk more about that in this practice. And, we're very depleted from the last, 5 years or so of just pandemic and everything, the turmoil of the country, and we're depleted. We're kind of in need of some self-care on a major level. It's not really an option. We need to be as strong and as grounded as we can so we can live the lives we want to live and create the world we want to live in. We need to be present and really grounded in ourselves. So let me explain what check-in means in this practice. Check-in. So it's a great practice to stay with yourself, to connect with your body throughout the day. We get on this treadmill of living and we get depleted, and this becomes feeling normal. So what I'm asking you to do this week is check in with yourself periodically throughout the day. And the check-in is just a pause. It's just a pause. And you turn inward and slow your breath and just feel into what you need. And maybe what you need is just a few slow breaths. Maybe what you need is to sit down, rest your legs, Put your feet up. Resting can look like different things for us. We all have different ways that we can rest. And rest really helps us restore and repair and allows us to be, more productive rather than just, constantly depleting ourselves. So that's what check-in means. It means you, throughout your day, maybe you notice you're just feeling wound up, scattered. That would be a good time to check in. Just stop, pause, take a few breaths, and just feel into what you need. Okay? I think I shared this quote with you in a prior practice. It's from a Chinese philosopher. And he said, I can't remember his name, but he said, stop talking, stop thinking, and there's nothing that you will not understand. Okay, so that's kind of what this check-in is quieting ourselves, pausing from the activity, and just listening, being present, staying in our bodies. Now, that might sound weird, in our bodies, but I think a lot of the day, sometimes we have a tendency to, what do I have to do next? What are they thinking? What should I do about what happened in the past? We're like outside of ourselves. So the check-in is about staying connected to yourself internally and tuning into what's needed. It might be a glass of water, it might be a snack, it might be pause and just take a breath or two. Whatever feels restorative to you. That's what the rest is about. And I'm going to talk about sleep a little bit too. But anyway, so I encourage you to check in with yourself throughout the day. And hopefully not just when you're frazzled. You can check in, just, hey, how am I doing right now? And you might be in a really great place, and just appreciate that and just breathe into that. It's not all about problems and turmoil. We can just stay connected to ourselves and check in. Okay, so we don't want to leave ourselves behind with this treadmill living. I talked about that in the very first practice. Okay, so that's what check-in and rest. I've already talked about what rest is. Rest is different things at different times, but it's about calming, being present, feeding yourself something that you need, whatever that is. And rest, I also want to emphasize sleep the sleep we get at night. It's so important, and science is really exploding around this topic because I think the whole world is having difficulty sleeping right now. We're energetic beings, and our nervous systems are just really ramped up right now. So, sleep is where we restore and repair. So I talked last practice about, staying away from technology. The few hours before bed, I use as kind of a preparation for sleep and as part of my sleep. Even though I'm awake, I start, doing what I can to prepare myself for sleep, and it's a part of getting good sleep. And so for me, it's staying away from technology and stimulating things. And I would really encourage you to look at this. If you are watching the news, watching movies, things late at night, checking Facebook, all that, do that during the day if you must do it. And I would limit that as well. My experience just tells me that, technology can be wonderful, but it can really be detrimental to us as well. So we have to manage what we're doing and figure out what's nourishing and what's not nourishing us, have limits. So, the few hours before bed are just quieter activities, reading, journaling, soak your feet, give yourself a manicure, take a bath, spend time with loved ones, call a friend. Sometimes I'll I'll organize something in my office, or something that, just something meditative, just basic, calming, but just leading up to sleep. You want to be calming yourself down and really connecting and being in the moment, okay? And then, the sleep part, make sure your room is dark, and I wear earplugs because my ears are really sensitive. Make sure you're not too hot. Make sure you've had enough fluids during the day so you don't get dehydrated during the night. There's so many things we can do to improve our sleep, and there's books out there, articles in every magazine about sleep. So do some research and find what's best for you. These are the things that I've shared with people and that work for me. But I want you to find what works for you. If you're an artist, you're drawing, whatever kind of would bring you some joy, and would nurture yourself, That's what I mean by rest, okay? And the restore happens when we rest. So we don't have to try to restore ourselves. If we check in and we rest, or we give ourselves what we need, then we will be restored, okay? And again, I talked about this, the messaging out there is, we have to go, go, go. I got to get this finished, got to follow through. And if I don't do it at the pace that, the outside world is telling me, then I'm going to be seen as something less. I'm going to be judged in some way. Women especially, we feel so guilty when we rest or take care of ourselves. And I really am debunking that in these practices, that I think we are more productive, more grounded, more clear, more helpful if we can show up rested and fully connected to who we are. And so you can't take too much care of yourself. You really can't. Just like you can't take too many slow breaths. This is really important for claiming our freedom and staying connected to ourselves, okay? I'm going to read from Mark Nepo, my book that I love, and he speaks about, this is all about staying connected to ourselves. So he has written on page 22, remembering and forgetting. What can I do to always remember who I really am? And these practices help us stay connected to who we are. So I think this writing really speaks to that. Most of our searching is looking for ways to discover who we already are. In this, we are a forgetful species, and perhaps what Adam and Eve lost when kicked out of Eden was their ability to remember what is sacred. Thus, we continually run into mountains and rivers, run to the farthest sea, and into the arms of strangers, all to be shaken into remembering. And some of us lead simple lives, hoping to practice how not to forget. But part of our journey is this forgetting and this remembering. It is a special part of what makes us human. So what can we do? Well, it's no secret that slowness remembers and hurry forgets. That softness remembers and hardness forgets. That surrender remembers and fear forgets. It is beautifully difficult to remember who we really are, but we help each other every time we fill the cup of truth and hold each other up after drinking from it. Yeah. So in these practices, we're remembering who we are and we're connecting with that. So, all right. So I hope this is getting more clear to you what this practice is this week. And we're going to do some journaling about it. And hope you have your journal with you. And I'm going to give you the prompts of where to start. And remember, this is just messy as can be, no rules. Just keep the pen moving. Just keep the pen moving, you showing up just as you are. And it's that deeper conversation with yourself. You're getting to know yourself, getting to know what's important to you. No rules, no judgments. Just let the Let the words flow. So here are some prompts about checking in, resting, and restoring. So the first one would be, when I let myself rest. When I let myself rest. And then you finish the sentence. And like, what would that hold for you? If you could slow down, rest, check in, what would that hold for you? Okay? Here's one that has to do with sleep. This is what's keeping me awake. This is what's keeping me awake. So if you are having difficulty getting to sleep or staying asleep, just what's keeping me awake? Okay? And this is what rest looks like for me. This is what rest looks like for me. So, I've talked about specific ways of resting, but what does it look like for you to rest? To pause, check in, and, what kinds of things would you offer yourself in terms of rest? Is it a nap? Whatever. Okay, so you're going to pause this video and journal for about 5 to 10 minutes, as much as you can. Can't journal too much, I don't think, either. We just want to let it empty out, whatever's there. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so you're back from journaling. I hope you got some insights as to what rest would look like for you, what's keeping you awake. Keep journaling with these topics this week. Keep this conversation going with yourself, uncovering, nurturing yourself. And you can always do those other prompts of, what am I learning? What am I learning? What's most important for me right now? You can always, whatever question comes to you, just let it flow. Okay? All right, let's write an intention statement. And the intention statement is, how are you going to show up in your life this week and practice checking in, resting, and restoring. Okay? So this is the statement that you keep coming back to. If you find yourself get thrown off, because there's a lot coming at us. We can get thrown off very easily. So you come back, pause, check in, and maybe it's just repeat your intention statement. Okay, we're practicing living with intention. Intention is how we really want to live. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. You might have your own. I always like that one. I have full permission to rest. I give myself permission to rest. To not always be in a hurry. Or to get good sleep at night. It's important. Yeah. When I rest, I restore myself. When I rest, I restore myself. And remember, rest could just mean take a few breaths. Just release. It could be sitting down. It could be put your feet up. I don't know. But it's something restorative, whatever that is for you. I nurture myself with rest. I nurture myself with rest. Okay? So play around with those and just keep coming back to those. All right? So you know what to do. You know what to do. And I think you're going to really enjoy this practice. It's just an expansion of slowing everything down, staying connected. So you're going to check in throughout the day. Just stop, pause, check in, rest, do whatever is restorative throughout the day, not just when you're absolutely frazzled and at the end of your rope. You can do it then too. And then, really getting good sleep at night, trying to figure out
what would give you the most restorative sleep, and really paying attention to that, really focusing on that. Okay. And, you know, just stay aware of how you're nurturing yourself. You know, what are you allowing in? What behaviors could you change that would be more nurturing? What's more nurturing? And remember, just take baby steps. It's not about changing everything overnight. Just take baby steps forward, and post your intention where you can see it. Keep using it. Okay. All right. Onward, Freedom Warriors. Our numbers are growing through YouTube. People are checking in through YouTube and getting it this way, which is great. And so be well, be safe, check in, rest, and restore. Namaste.